So you have a lot of airplanes that have been lost over the ocean. Well, now these satellites, they have response by a company that's formed called Iridium, and there's bots that actually now take that data that typically you would only get on the ground or first stage when it's over the ocean, and they can collect the data, so you can actually track an airplane over the ocean. The satellites are. So that's one of those. Did you say that's the well, it's more of to simplify it, it's more like the radar. So you can't do radar over land. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everybody's taking pictures, so you're more than welcome. We got all this here, so you want me to have and we'll have live. Here, so usually what we're concerned about is making sure that monitors and detectors are done, the job of kind of hiding that monster. So that's why.
Is everybody in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually I talked to them and said they could expedite it, and they brought people in.
Good. Okay. Can you usher people to sit down?
Yeah.
If everyone could start taking their seats, please. Is there anyone remaining? Or is everybody checking out? Okay. Do you know how much time that would take? George, do you need them to start the webcast, or do they just know to start? Okay. Yeah. Good. Okay, good morning and welcome. My name is Diane Hockenberry. I'm the Director of PR and Communications for Iridium. And I'd like to thank you for joining Iridium, Thales Alenia Space, and Orbital ATK as we celebrate the latest accomplishments in the Iridium Next program. To give you an idea of the event program for today, we'll start with executive remarks from each organization, followed by brief Q&A from the media. We'll take questions first from the media here at the factory, and then from those tuning in via the webcast. If you're dialing in remotely, you can submit your questions to me, diane.hockenberry@iridium.com, or the email given to you in the media alert. After the Q&A, we'll have a brief photo opportunity here in front of the production facility floor before we adjourn down the hallway to my left to the INT high bay. There you'll have a chance to view the completed satellites for the first time and take photos. Please keep in mind that we have strict regulations around the use of photography and videography while you're here in the manufacturing facility. No flash photography is allowed. You've been provided with cards giving you guidelines around the use of photography, so please take a look at those or ask any of us if you have questions. After viewing the satellites in the INT high bay, there will be another brief opportunity for you to take photos there before we will conclude the webcast. For those of you here at the facility, you'll have an opportunity to take a guided virtual tour of what occurs at each of the stations in the assembly line on the production floor and also to go into a second-story observation room to see the production facility from a higher vantage point. If you would like high-res photos of all of the satellites as well as the activity occurring at each station, you can email me with that request as well. And for those of you here, those photos are provided in your media kit. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Iridium CEO, Matt Desch.
Thanks, Diane, and thanks for all the great work you've done to get this ready. And welcome to all of you. Thanks for joining us as we celebrate the latest achievements in this very historic Iridium Next program. I welcome you to Orbital ATK's satellite manufacture facility, where our Iridium Next satellites are assembled, tested, and integrated on their way to the launch pad by Thales Alenia Space and Orbital ATK. And I am pleased to be joined today by Bertrand Moreau, who is Vice President of Telecommunications at Thales Alenia Space, and Frank Culbertson, who is President of Orbital ATK's Space Systems Group, and you'll hear from them in a moment. So to provide some historical context that brings us to this milestone today, I'd like to first recognize that the existing Iridium satellite network began launching about 19 years ago, specifically May 5th, 1997. It also emerged from this general area. This in Arizona was the birthplace of that network as well. It's interesting, we're back here again at Orbital ATK's facility with some of the same people, by the way, who were involved in that first time. At that time, Iridium represented the world's largest constellation, largest commercial satellite constellation in space, with an operating network of 66 satellites going around the planet in low Earth orbit. And that is a distinction that still remains today. Now, although the company business model faced some initial challenges, we emerged from a near decommissioning of our network 20 years ago by changing our business approach, securing some key contracts, particularly with the government, but then rapidly with commercial industry, and by expanding dramatically our product portfolio. In fact, our satellites, which are in space today, were very, very flexible, and they were uploaded over the years with lots of new software to enable new services, particularly data services, and not just the voice that they were originally designed for, and that created a path for growth for us, which brings us to the successful company we are today. But this is ancient history now. You can read about it, actually, and the media here have been given a copy of this. This is just out in the last couple weeks here, a book by an author named John Bloom. I'm not promoting it per se, called Eccentric Orbits, but it's certainly a very interesting, well-documented, well-researched book, and kind of fun for those of us that has been a part of this program for so long to see kind of the mass media writing about the interesting history of the company. Today, Iridium thrives really thanks to the use of very unique architecture in our network. We're still the only company to use what's called inter-satellite links and onboard processing, which gives us a lot of natural advantages. It gives us the best coverage in the world of any operator. It gives us the lowest latency. It allows us, our devices, to use small antennas and low power to allow people to move, to get connections on the move. And it's all delivered through one of the largest partner ecosystems in the industry, which innovate around our network and then take our services to market to their customers. So as the only truly global satellite operator, we now serve the critical communication needs of about 800,000 subscribers in markets such as government, maritime, land mobile, machine-to-machine, and aviation. And it's no surprise, really, that the marvel of Iridium technology and the financial transformation the company is gaining attention as we are about to embark on the replenishment, maybe one of the largest tech refreshes around, as we replace that network in space with Iridium Next. So in addition to, by the way, to John Bloom's book, which is, you can get publicly, a more local book has been created by a friend of ours, a man named Durrell Hillis. He was actually the general manager of Motorola's space division out here in the Arizona area, and was one of the, actually the original manager, if you will, for the original Iridium program. And he's created a book that literally is just self-published, local, and is more focused, really, frankly, on the Iridium team that created the original satellite constellation. It's called Creating Iridium. A lot of stories. I wrote the foreword and the last chapter for him. I also gave the media this book, maybe less commercial in some ways, because I'd say it was more of an ode to the amazing innovation and hard work by the team, but many of those team members are still involved in the program, both in Iridium and in our partners at Orbital ATK and other places, and I think they'll find that quite interesting. Now, one of the things I would suggest is that at this point that we're having today, watching our satellites go off to the launch pad, if you will, at that point in time in 1997 was a very, very different time. The teams then were moving so fast. I would say that the satellites were not nearly as mature as the satellites that you're going to see today. The hardware was there, but in many cases the software was still at a very, very early stages, and it's all documented in books like this as they had to fix a lot of things in space. And I think it was very important in the program as we work with our partners at Thales Alenia Space and Orbital ATK that this time around, you know, with all that incredible experience that we've gained over the last 25 years in this program, that would embody in much more powerful satellites which were really ready to go when they, and we are really ready to go right now with some very, very sophisticated, well-tested and powerful satellites moving forward. So getting back to Iridium Next, building on the success of our existing network, we are celebrating today the imminent launching of our second-generation satellite constellation, which we call Iridium Next. It has the same crosslink architecture. It will be replacing every satellite in space in real time, really. And these satellites have even greater functionality and faster broadband speeds. Now, this program is long in the making. I've been with Iridium 10 years. It's been sort of in process at least that period of time, but I would say specifically what you're seeing today is about 7 years or so in the making, and it really has required tireless effort by all our technology partners here, as well as my own team here at Iridium. Since 2008, we've achieved many milestones that lead up to this moment, from selecting our satellite prime, Thales Alenia Space, to signing SpaceX as our launch provider and obtaining the needed financing for the constellation, to upgrading the ground station infrastructure and completing the first call over the Iridium Next hardware. Each milestone brought us one step closer to the day we have today, with the ultimate goal of providing a truly next-generation global network. Now, through its expanded capabilities, this new constellation will drive new partner opportunities and a lot of more innovative products that we're known for, like Iridium Certus, which is our advanced multi-service platform that will deliver global, reliable, enterprise-grade services at speeds up to 1.4 megabits per second. Now, Certus is going to be a very good complement to other satellite broadband technologies by delivering operational and safety services for maritime and aviation customers, land mobile remote connections for things like push-to-talk, telematics, and the Internet of Things, and some very unique services for government customers. Iridium Next is also delivering on the promise of hosted payloads, which, with one of the most ambitious programs of its kind. Ariane is a revolutionary service for global aircraft operators and airlines that will enable real-time surveillance of aircraft worldwide. Our technology partner, Harris, is also utilizing space on the Iridium Next satellites, primarily for an AIS maritime tracking service that will be the best of its kind in the world. So to satellite production here, to produce the Iridium Next satellites, we've been working with Thales Alenia Space and their AINT partner, Orbital ATK. Thales Alenia designed a new satellite that you will see to our specification, consisting of something like 5,000 individual parts that Orbital ATK has assembled and tested, and comprising over the overall program something like 100,000 hours of workmanship by hundreds of engineers. Now, while the program has had some delays, it's a huge, complex program. It's really come together in the last 6 months or so. Specifically, during the last 3 months in this facility, the number of engineers working on construction of these satellites has doubled. And pulling from a great aerospace engineering talent in the Phoenix area, the team here plans on adding about I think about 20 more engineers as production continues to ramp to complete more than 5 satellites rolling off the line here per month very shortly. Now, I'll let Bertrand and Frank talk more about the program, but suffice to say, what you are seeing today is a very unique way of making satellites. This isn't the way it's done elsewhere. In fact, the last time it was done this way was 20 years ago when Iridium created its first constellation coming out of Arizona. It is high volume manufacturing of satellites on a moving line, moving across, and really is the way, in many ways, that the Space 2.0 industry is talking about making satellites. So I'd say there's a lot of groundbreaking work that's been done here by us and our partners, and their expertise and success is really helping to advance the industry in these ways. So every milestone in the Iridium Next program has been exciting, but today's is especially memorable because it represents the culmination of everyone's hard work. It is saying that our satellites are done and ready to go. They're ready for space, and they will soon be on their way onto a SpaceX satellite. These first 2 satellites that we're going to show you this morning are ready to ship to Vandenberg Air Force Base for processing by SpaceX. As you'll hear, there's a few more out there, and in fact, many, many more, which will be completed literally in the next couple weeks. They have completed a very rigorous testing program of both the hardware and the software, and every component of these satellites has been verified for Operation Space. They've had a battery of manufacturing tests, from vibration and acoustic tests to thermal vacuum tests. Now, once they get out to Vandenberg Air Force Base, which is the responsibility, by the way, of Orbital ATK, they will be processed at the SpaceX processing facility there, where they will be fueled, and Orbital will perform final tests to ensure the vehicles integrate with the Falcon 9 rockets and are truly ready to go in space. As I said, they will be shipped 2 by 2. You're going to see the shipping containers that they ship in. They're shipped on a special truck that will be moving them to the base. It will keep going back and forth over the next couple weeks as additional satellites will be ready until all first 10 of our satellites are there, and they will be ready to go. Now, regarding the launch of the network, we're announcing today that we have a target launch date, a specific target launch date of September 12th, 2016. That will be a night launch in California. Now, I will say, while the satellites will be ready by late July, frankly, all the satellites will be completed and available, and they will be all out at the Air Force Bay and ready to go by say mid-August. The earliest launch date made available to Iridium from SpaceX and Vandenberg Air Force Base is September 12th, and at least we now know exactly when we will see these guys fly. Now, it's a little later than I hoped, to be honest with you. But there are a number of non-SpaceX launches planned in August and early September at Vandenberg, so that's the earliest they could give us for this launch. SpaceX is ready, the rocket's ready, the dispensers are ready, so that really isn't the issue. The issue really is the fact that the range has been closed for a while. Vandenberg is unusually busy in those 2 months, and so they're squeezing in a lot as really sort of the base opens up for launch, and at least we have a target to go to now. As you know, each batch of Iridium Next satellites will be launched into orbit on the back of a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. In total, there are 7 launches with SpaceX, each carrying 10 Iridium Next satellites into orbit. This makes Iridium SpaceX's largest commercial customer to date. Once these satellites are launched, these first 10 are launched, the teams will begin a 3-month period of testing in space, testing all the connections of the satellite and the operations of them and the ground infrastructure, ensure they're working properly before we commence our second launch, and then 3rd, 4th, and 5th on roughly 60-day centers. All of Iridium Next satellites are scheduled and planned, and we believe once we get these first launch off, we'll be on track to complete our constellation as scheduled in 2017. So it's going to be a very, very busy 18 months as many, many things have to happen literally hour by hour, day by day to make that happen, but I'm very confident and increasingly pleased with all the progress we're making and satellites being ready that's going to happen. So today is another great milestone for Iridium, and it sets us on the path for a first launch. We have a date, we have a time, we have satellites. You'll see there's a lot of satellites here. It really marks the end of the development and testing phase and the beginning of sort of the operational launch and execution phase, which we've been waiting for a long time. I really want to congratulate all the employees at Thales Alenia Space, at Orbital ATK, my team, who've been working so hard for these many years. It's an exciting day for us, and it's going to be even more exciting in the coming months as we get that. So with that, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Bertrand Moreau, who's Vice President of Telecommunications for Thales Alenia Space. Bertrand?
Thank you, Matt. Good morning to all. I will try to make it as short as possible, just to for you to accommodate my poor English accent. So this is a big honor and a big pleasure for me to be here with you to celebrate this event today. So I would like again to thank Iridium for this invitation and Orbital ATK for hosting this event. This is a very important milestone for TAS. TAS is an acronym for Thales Alenia Space, and for the whole Thales Group as well. This is the biggest contract that the Thales Group has ever signed in his history, and it just reward the TAS long experience and heritage in the constellation domain, probably more than 20 years. This contract has entered into force in October 2010, so six years ago. It was a huge challenge at the time because it represented a huge technological step compared to the Iridium Block 1 existing constellations in order to provide better resources and services to Iridium customers. And it was as well the most complex ever built and ever designed software-defined satellites. You know that we are talking a lot in different conferences about digital transformation and fully software-designed payload. I do think that the Iridium constellations is representing the state of the art in that domain. So I will focus a bit on the program itself and the main challenges that it represented for all of us. I will highlight 4 of them. The first one is the complexity, as I was just mentioning, of the payload and the satellite itself. Complexity because, as I said, this is a real-time, fully processed payload, which means that every communications between all the satellites and the ground, the gateways and the users, and between all the satellites of the constellations, one satellite to the other, are managed in real time, thanks to a very state-of-the-art hardware and software components. It is, I think, the occasion to mention our partners, Seeker and Lockheed Martin, that have been part of this journey so far. Just to give you an idea, the software of Iridium is representing 500,000 lines of code. For those who have an idea, just give you an idea of the complexity of the software. So the first challenge was the complexity of this, I would say, the satellite, what is in orbit. Second complexity is management of what we call the end-to-end system, the complexity of the system, which does encompass not only the satellites themselves, but all the ground infrastructure. So you have to manage a lot of interfaces between the satellite, the ground, the launchers, the test facilities, the users' terminals, etc. So all in order to work perfectly to provide the appropriate level of quality to the users. And on top of this, we had to manage and to take into account the compatibility with the existing Block 1 constellation. So at the beginning, one of the requirements was to be compatible as well with the existing constellations, because it will be a while in which both generation will work all together in orbit. Third challenge is the production by itself. I think Matt has mentioned it a bit. So we are talking of, it's like an aircraft production line to some extent. It's absolutely unusual to produce such a high number of satellites. So it does involve more than 40 subcontractors, thousands of units. Again, just to give you an example, 14,000 of L-band TR module has been produced. These are the components which are in the main antenna. So 14,000 of it, just to give you a specific number. The other complexity to remain in the production area was to manage a very complex supply chain in order to gather here in these facilities all products coming from all the suppliers worldwide, and to implement a specific lean management in the production line in order to be able to be very efficient and to reach these 5 satellites per month production rate. The fourth challenge was to manage as a team all the actors of that program. So all the suppliers, all our key partners meaning again Orbital as AIT provider, Seeker, Lockheed Martin, all TAS entities, most of all TAS entities have been involved in that program as well. And we have a lot of worldwide suppliers from the US, obviously, from Canada, from Israel, and all over Europe, which are producing hardware which are assembled in those satellites. More than 400 TAS people are working at a time for part of the time. And by the way, if I may, I take the occasion to thank all the TAS employees who have shown so far professionalism, availability, and dedication to that program. So now what is in front of us? The 2 first satellites are ready to be delivered. The first batch of 10, as it was said, will be completed by July. I think 15, maybe a bit more, are in the 16 are actually in integration in front of you. As I was mentioning, production rate is today at 3 per month, and in the coming days or weeks, we'll reach 5 satellites per month in order to comply with the delivery schedule we are committed to. Something which is maybe not visible as hardware is that we have completed the system validation. I was mentioning the end-to-end complexity. It means that before launching the satellites, you have to demonstrate that the end-to-end performance, so the ability of the system to deliver the messages from one point to the other in due time and with the right level of quality, this end-to-end system validation has been completed with full compliance to the requirements. It has been done in the Chandler test system bed. I think we will visit altogether this center this afternoon. So you will see satellites from Block 1 generation, satellites from engineering model from next generation altogether with simulated gateways, etc., in order to simulate in a something like a room like this one, all the system in order to be able again to validate all the performances in all kind of modes. And again, it has been completed in the past months, demonstrating the full compliance of the system. The operations team is ready. What it means, all the team, all the guys that will take care of the satellites once they are separated. So we have a team of Iridium, Boeing, and TAS people, mostly gathered in so-called SNOC Center, the Operation Center, which is in Leesburg facility close to Washington. So as far as we are concerned, TAS, we have something like 20-25 people there, which have been trained for months to run all the procedures. It's not a piece of cake, if I may, to manage 10 satellite separation at a time. And so you need, again, to write and validate specific procedures to be able to manage this. So the team is ready. They will have a last rehearsal in the coming days, and they will be ready for the D-Day. So all of this will be the next week work that the team has completed. So I think that it's time to celebrate what has been done so far, and to thank all the team for the work accomplished. If you give me a few minutes more, I will give you some numbers to illustrate the order of magnitude of that program. 4 million of working hours for TAS people, 10 million for the whole team, 10 million of working hours, 20 million of kilometers done by TAS people by plane, back and forth, 100,000 documents. If you want me to repeat, I can do that. 100,000 documents, which means that if you put them one on top of the other, you will reach 3 kilometers high. Or another way, if you spread them page by page over the Sky Harbor airport, you will recover it. Just have to choose a day without wind, but I mean, just give you an idea. And 650 square meters of solar panels. And to finish with 70 tons of satellites to be launched. So it's time to thank again the Iridium team, who has been, has been so far a very, very added value customer, if I may say so, in the sense that we have behaved, and I am pleased to see some of them in the room. We have behaved as a team in a very pragmatic manner, constructive manner. We have TAS as a prime, benefiting from Iridium team experience that Matt was mentioning. All the best practices or wrong practices that has been seen during the first generation have been highlighted to us, and it clearly has avoided to do wrong things and to improve our own work. So I want to highlight this and to thank again in front of you, Matt, for this behavior, which is not so common. I want to thank as well our friends, colleagues from Orbital for the great work done so far. I remember then the last time I came in November that we were wondering how we would reach that high rate production, and we put a specific plan to do it. And I'm happy to see today that we made it. So please just continue in the same way. But thank you for all the effort done so far. So. Obviously, it is not the end of the story, but I'm confident that we will match end of 2017 for the complete deployment of the constellations. And Matt, you can be sure of our commitment, of the whole group support, of the TAS support, and of my own, what how can I say, involvement in that program. So I want to introduce Frank now from Orbital.
Good morning to everyone, and welcome once again to our facility in Gilbert. On behalf of the leadership team of Orbital ATK, Dave Thompson and Blake Larson, and the rest of our folks back at Dulles, I am very proud to show you what we're doing here. I also really appreciate our teammates, Iridium and Thales Alenia Space. This is an amazing way to work together and to do new things and to take new technology into a higher rate production and to work together to solve some very serious problems in order to get to this point where we are ready to deliver satellites. the leadership of Iridium and the experience in this area, as well as the leadership and experience of Thales Alenia Space in managing this type of high technology makes all the difference. Our team is proud to work with these folks and proud to be achieving what we are so far. Pretty soon, one satellite a week out this factory door, or virtually out the factory door. We'll hold on to them until we're ready to ship them and they're ready to launch them. But one a week is an amazing achievement for satellite production and something new in the world, but something that people are striving for in the future. And we think we're breaking some ground and setting some good examples. I'm very proud of our team here in Gilbert. I'm also proud of our relationship, Mayor Lewis, with you and your team, and the efforts you all have gone to make sure that we can, in fact, be successful as a business here, to bring more high technology to this area, and to have the workforce that we have that is so committed to doing a good job, as well as the efforts that have gone into making sure that something as complicated as a foreign trade zone could be set up here and keep things moving through the factory in a safe, legal and efficient way, and that's made a lot of difference too. So thank you to the citizens and the leadership of Gilbert. But to our team here at Orbital ATK, a lot of hard work. You know, we have a saying, ignore the man behind the curtain. Okay, well, I don't want you to ignore these folks behind the pane. They're working hard to keep this high-rate production going and to build these satellites as carefully with as much attention to detail as possible. And they are building as you're watching, and so this is actual operations in progress. They work a lot of long hours. They've had to solve a lot of tough problems. But with the efforts, again, of our teammates, it's gone really well, and we're very proud of what's happening here. We build a lot of other satellites here and elsewhere to support national defense, science satellites, other commercial endeavors. This is the largest constellation we have built, and it's on a commercial basis. And I think the commercial side of space is the future for this country and for the world. And Matt, we appreciate your leadership in keeping that going and bringing a new way of doing business to what is very important to the future and the economy of this country and to the rest of the world, and that's communications. We look forward to showing you the actual satellites. We do appreciate you visiting us today. We do ask, as was mentioned earlier, please no flash photography, and do be careful with what you take pictures of around here. And we do have procedures we need you to follow. But we do want to share with you what we're very proud of, and that's the accomplishment of a new exciting program that's going to launch very soon at a very high rate. 10 per mission, 70 satellites over the next less than 18 months is going to be an amazing accomplishment, and we're very excited about being a part of that. So again, thank you all for coming today. Welcome to our facility. Thank you very much to Iridium and Thales Alenia Space. It's been a great experience working with you, and we do appreciate the way that we all work together and solve problems. At this time, are you taking it back?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all very much.
We'll now take your questions from the room as well as from the webcast.
Any questions?
Matt, could you just walk us through the delay? It's not huge, but it's beyond what you expected with the September 12th launch, which is no earlier than September 12th, so I guess there's some margin post-September 12th. This, if I understood from what you said, this is not a satellite issue. This is not a satellite delivery issue, and it's not a SpaceX manifest issue. It's purely a question of Vandenberg's crowded calendar. And a related question, are you the next SpaceX launch from Vandenberg?
I believe so. I think we're the next SpaceX. So I think everybody probably got that on the webcast. Just walking through the September 12th date. We did say it's a target date. It's being confirmed, but it is the date sort of that everybody's working to. You know, when you get to this stage, stuff happens. It's kind of out of our control really at this point, but everyone is focused on getting these satellites off. I'd say it's sort of a unique situation because really SpaceX, of course, is a very, very busy company with lots of launches, but most of those launches are really out of the Cape, and so there can be a little bit of a traffic jam down there with all the launches they have to do. There really aren't that many SpaceX launches out of Vandenberg, so normally you would expect that we would sort of get whatever date we needed. However, I think there's been sort of a unique environment out at Vandenberg, as they've been doing some work at the base. They really haven't been launching for a number of months, and they're opening that back up here in August. And so there's a big backlog of commercial and government customers that they got to get off, and they're trying to fit all that in and do the best they can with it. I expect once we get this first launch off, we know exactly how many days between then and the next launch, and we can plan ahead a little bit better, and we'll start getting really back on track there. And I don't really think we'll have some of the issues that maybe others have had. There does seem to be some confusion sometimes about, because launch delays and stuff have affected different customers. We're really on a separate queue out of Vandenberg, so we really are the priority for SpaceX out there, and they'll get us off as soon as Vandenberg lets us go, and that looks like it should be September 12th. So a little disappointing. I thought it would happen a couple weeks earlier, but still within the realm of time to get the whole network complete in 2017, which is the most important thing to me. Thanks. Over here. I'll repeat what Caleb Henry just asked. He mentioned that the original plan was to launch the first 2 satellites on a Cosmotros Dnieper rocket out of Yasny. That, of course, hasn't happened. That was going to be our first launch this spring, and so these 2 satellites were destined for there at one point. That's been a challenge. The Russians still have not given us a plan for launching those 2 satellites. They're ostensibly still at sort of the end of the program right now, though not a lot of movement has happened there. I don't have much to give you more on that. So we'll have 11 additional satellites will be built here. So really there's a total of 81 satellites being built. Those are, our network requires 66 satellites. We have 6 planes of 11 satellites, and then we want at least a satellite in each plane as a spare. So we will get those additional 11 satellites up there before long, and we have a number of ways, if not Cosmotros, which I'm still hopeful, but maybe not as hopeful. I'm still hopeful that they will work that out and give us a launch that we can get to. But if not, we have other plans under works. We'll be talking about those over time because we really want to get all 11 of those into space. I mean, that really gives us a lot of buffer and comfort in terms of the ability. So there will be plans to launch all those at some point. You really will have 81. Doesn't make sense to just have these great satellites sitting on the ground someday. The best place to store satellites is actually in space. It's the most benign place to put them, not in a room around here. So we're gonna find ways of getting those in space, and have some interesting plans. And maybe before long we'll be able to talk about those.
Other questions?
Stéphane Berensky from Aerospatium in France. You're about to launch at least 70 satellites. You already have about 70 satellites up there. Are you ready to operate all of them simultaneously, or will there be a retirement plan for the old ones?
Yes. So what do we do with those 66 satellites we currently have up there? We are going to be replacing, by the way, just for those who don't know, each satellite as they go into position, our network operations center, as Bertrand said, in Leesburg, which operates the satellites, will take command of those satellites into space. They will fly them into position one by one near an existing satellites. They will test them out, and there is a whole process by which they literally turn all the links from the old satellites to the new satellites. It happens instantaneously. Literally, users on the ground shouldn't be affected by any of that. They won't know that they're operating from a new satellite versus an old satellite. And then we move the older satellites into a storage plane temporarily as a spare, just a smart backup. But given that those satellites are getting up there, and we want to be able to take them out of space in a responsible way, the plan would be pretty shortly after that, as we are comfortable the new satellites are operating as they're designed, and I'm confident that will happen quickly. We'll start moving those satellites and commanding those satellites to expend all their remaining fuel, and they will be deorbited. They will literally slow themselves down to the extent that they catch in the atmosphere sometime, most of them will come down within months. Most of them will be within a year that they will burn up in the atmosphere, and therefore, after 20 years of great service for satellites that were, 6 or 7 years for initial design life, that's amazing accomplishment of what those accomplished. So that will be a sorry day. Just for all of you, that will be the end of Iridium flares, so enjoy those while you can. And that's a unique phenomenon that those satellites still exhibit because of their unique design. These ones won't flare that way. Sorry we didn't put lights on them or anything, but that will be certainly another milestone in our life. Thanks. Other questions? Yeah.
Hi, Stephen Clark from Spaceflight Now. I was wondering if someone could share the date you plan to ship the first 2 satellites to Vandenberg. Is that coming up in a few days or a few weeks? And I have one more as well.
I'll speak to that if you don't mind. So literally when we set this up about a month ago, I'll be honest, we thought that today was the day we'd watch the truck and we could all wave goodbye as they left. These 2 satellites have been getting ready to go, and it wasn't just today that they were finished. There's actually 2 more you can see out there that literally will be ready, or are ready. One's really ready, one will be ready in a day or 2, and there's more following that very, very quickly after that. So when we got the date of September 12th, that kind of said, why have such a long period of time in the processing facility? So it will be probably a couple weeks, when they really do ship. You're going to see the shipping containers, you're going to see all that, you're going to see how they'll go, and literally it'll be shuttled back and forth over a week 5 times, as they get out there, because all the satellites that we need for that first batch will be done here within about 4 to 5 weeks, by the end of July. So there's going to be a lot of movement back and forth, but we may not be moving them for another week, a couple weeks. I don't know exactly the date, to be honest with you, but it's in the plan.
And a question about your arrangement with SpaceX. Are you flying a brand new vehicle on the September 12th? And do you anticipate any of the 7 missions to be flying a previously flown vehicle? And I want to get your thoughts overall on reusability. What do you need to see from SpaceX, from your underwriters, to be comfortable flying with a reused vehicle?
Yeah, good question. So SpaceX, we procured all new rockets, so they're all new Falcon 9 version 1.1s or whatever they're called these days. All of them will be new rockets. We are, by the way, we are, I think, the heaviest payload to date. In many ways, I believe, since we were one of the first to work with SpaceX 10 years ago, I think in some ways that this vehicle is almost designed around this payload. Even though we're only going to low Earth orbit, that's a lot of weight to get into space, and while they'll get it in there, there's still questions about whether they'll be able to land that rocket, if there'll be enough fuel left over to do that. I don't think so, but so there may not be reusable vehicles out of this. We'll see. They've pulled off some pretty amazing tricks in the last 6 months in terms of what they've been doing, landing on barges and on ground. So who knows? They might be able to do it. I think reusability is an important thing for the industry. I think they're demonstrating what you can do with that. They have a number of cores right now that I think they're marketing. If they're the right price, I would consider using those in the future. I'm very confident in SpaceX in terms of the people we've worked with, that they can accomplish all kinds of things. So, insurance is all, we haven't updated insurance in a while, but these first launches are fully insured, and the remaining will be fully insured before long. So everyone's happy really with SpaceX. They've had 20 some, I can't remember exactly how many they've had now, launches. They're still going to have a couple more before we go. I don't know, as a customer, I think SpaceX is doing a fantastic job. They're great people to work with, very responsive, very entrepreneurial, very creative, and they've been a great group to work with.
Hi, Haley Ringel with the Phoenix Business Journal. Can you give me an idea of how much this project is cost? Is there any kind of numbers you can give us?
Yeah, the whole cost of the program is, we've said, is about $3 billion. So a big number, one of the biggest in the industry. The satellite portion of this is about 2.23, something like that was the original number. There's probably a little bit additional on that. We've kept within the number, by the way. When satellite companies announce programs, particularly governmental ones, they typically go up in price over time. That hasn't happened in this case. We've stayed on track to budget. So it's, and I would say over $100 million, you know. I don't know the exact number, but Orbital ATK is getting a significant piece of that. I would say a couple $100 million in this area, in the Phoenix area, in terms of investment made here when you consider all the testing and the work that's gone on in the ground infrastructure in this area. Our teams that are over in both Chandler and Tempe, all located here. I think this has had a pretty significant financial impact in this region. And of course, we have a lot of partners in this area too in our ongoing business, whether they be at General Dynamics or Honeywell, you know, as a partner, in fact, as a supplier to this this program. There's others, I would say, in the Phoenix area who also benefited as well, though we don't have the exact economic impact, but I think it's been pretty significant. And we're a long time tenant. We love it here. I don't like it as much at 125 degrees, but I like it. But we're out here for a long haul. And it is interesting. You know, by the way, the satellites were designed by Thales Alenia Space, a French company, in primarily Toulouse and Cannes and areas around Paris and that sort of thing, owned by the Thales Group, which is also European-based. One of our original requirements is we wanted the satellites to be integrated and tested in the U.S. for flexibility, for our ability to host national security kind of things if necessary. It hasn't been a real requirement per se, but it was a unique requirement that we really wanted it to be done here for flexibility. They accommodated that with their work with Orbital. Orbital stepped up. It's amazing. They had this this is a unique facility. This is you won't see a lot of satellite facilities designed really for something like this, that had to be that was in this area, that was available and literally down the road from our technology team, some of whom are here, so they could come by and visit the satellites. It could have been anywhere in the world or anywhere in the U.S., but we're fortunate that it actually was here in terms of that. Other questions? I know there'll be a lot more. Yeah, Caleb?
Hey, me again. So a lot of the talk right now has just been about investment in the satellites, which obviously you mentioned is the larger part of your investment. But I'm assuming there were probably some ground segment advances as well. Can you just talk a little bit about what Iridium has done to invest in your ground network to prepare for?
Yeah, good question. So, you know, that total $3 billion includes the 2.2 something in satellite production, or the 81 satellites, all that R&D and production, what goes on here. Then there is, you know, a little less than $500 million in rocket launches. There's still remainder there. There was quite a bit in terms of upgrading all of our ground infrastructure around the world, all of our antenna sites. They've all been brand new antennas. Our gateway has been upgraded with lots of equipment. You're going to be over there and see that in terms of that's all been upgraded. That's all been done. In fact, our gateways have been locked down since the beginning of the year. We don't want to make any changes to things. We want to be in a very stable situation for first launch. So all that investment, it's probably been $100 million or more, you know, of kind of investment in our ground systems, which includes things like the satellite control system software. Sounds arcane, but that's the screens that Mission Control looks at to, with all that telemetry data coming. Remember, every one of our satellites is constantly talking through our network, through our inter-satellite links, to the operators, telling them exactly their health, what they're doing, and they're all interacting with each other in this constantly moving satellite constellation down to ground infrastructure. All that's happening, all that's been upgraded, all that's state-of-the-art. And in fact, as Bertrand said, they've all been doing rehearsals. They have probably the toughest, I mean, there's a lot going on out here, but you can imagine positioning 70 satellites literally over a year. This is going to be a highly scripted dance in space with all the different tests that have to run and all the procedures that have to be gone through, all the moving satellites around, deorbiting satellites, putting them in position, all while turning on new services at the same time. And a lot of that happens not just with the satellites, but it's the ground infrastructure that causes that to happen. So a lot of work. Other questions before we skip in there? I'm sorry.
Hi, Haley again
Yes.
with the Phoenix Business Journal. Can you tell me how many employees you have here locally in the Phoenix area? And can you just give examples of what exactly is being done here?
Yeah, and I'm going to let Frank talk about his. And I would, by the way, mention that there's there's probably over a dozen, maybe 15 or so from Thales Alenia Space here who are enjoying the local area for extended periods of times, have moved here literally for a long period of time. By the way, a lot of the orbital team moved to France for a while in the original time, but Thales Alenia Space has people here. And then the Iridium team has probably about 250 or so. I don't know the exact number. I probably have at least that many people between my team and the Boeing operations team that works in our facilities. You're going to see where those work. They literally work on our behalf. And some of those were the original Motorola employees, if you will, that moved into those roles, that went to Boeing and to test software, to design new features for our systems, to maintain our current operations, ground and space. So we have a big presence here. Just at Iridium, then I'll let you talk about Thales, and then Frank. So it's about 15 or so here, and he's also got
with their family. I mean, they are there for 2 to 3 years for some of them.
And they're very happy here, by the way. They tell me they like the food. They like the food. And do you want to talk briefly, Frank, about the orbital ATK presence here?
We have about 120 working this program, Iridium Next, and then we have a little over 300 here in the total facility working other programs. And we've had a few people go to France, some of whom we had trouble getting back. But yeah, it's a little over 300 total in the area that I would say has good economic impact and really good high-quality work.
And this is a hotbed, really, when you look around the U.S. This area has one of the many hotbeds of sort of what I would call aerospace talent because of that history that's come out of the Valley here over the years. Different companies who've been here, suppliers of components, full satellites, and it has been a good place to hire experienced resources to do the kind of work we do. This is highly technical, highly complicated, highly precise and precision work that has to be done, and so it's important to have a good workforce for that.
And if I may, Matt, I can mention as well a team from Thales USA, who is based in Washington, that has contributed to some specific tasks all along the program as well. And they are also involved in the terminals production for the next generation. So we have some contract from Iridium from the user terminals.
Yeah, and Thales Group, which is a part owner of Thales Alenia Space, is a global company, very large operation. Some of those are here, some of our partners here. They can wave just so they know who you are in case they want to talk to you. We have, like, our new constellation is hosting a higher broadband speed, so it requires new terminals, and we have selected a number of partners, of which Thales Group is one of them, and they have a long history in tactical radios and equipment on aircraft, maritime, land mobile radios, that sort of thing. So they'll be a really important partner to us going forward, and so that also is an interface. Yes, Peter, do you have another one?
This will have to be the last question.
Peter should always gets the last question.
One is simple, one is less simple, but if we can take it offline, the second one for Orbital and Thales. First, the simple one, your debt covenants require you get insurance for the first 2 well in advance. Did you just say you got that now?
Yes, that's all complete.
Okay, and for Thales and Orbital, and we can take it later if you want, but establishing a foreign trade zone here, what's that mean? You started this project when ITAR was still a real pain. ITAR is now less of a pain, so it happened right in the middle of your relationship. Has that had a material effect on easing things here for you as you deal with U.S. and non-U.S.? And just what is a foreign trade zone that we're now sitting in?
By the way, everybody knows ITAR is the laws of the country in terms of not exporting technology to other countries that could, be for national defense and that sort of thing. It stands for International Trade in Arms and something or other. Regulation, okay. Trafficking in arms regulation. And there have been some changes recently. The satellite industry has been long promoting a much more open environment in that way. We've gotten some relief, and these are the guys that would benefit from it. So maybe you can speak to that briefly, Frank.
Yeah, just a couple of things. The forward train zone allows us to move hardware components for these satellites in and out much more freely than we would under normal import-export rules. And it allows the components to come in as foreign components and then be installed on the satellite, and then at the end, it's all considered one system. But if we have to send something back, for example, for rework, this allows us to do it much more expeditiously and with a lot less overhead and regulation. The community here and both the town of Gilbert and the state of Arizona, as well as the federal government folks who worry about that, have been very cooperative in helping us set that up. And it's gone very well. We do have to worry about who's where in the building. We have other programs going on that do have ITAR sensitivities. And so folks have been very cooperative who are coming in that are not U.S. citizens in observing the rules, and but working very closely with us in the manufacturing facility. So I think it's worked very well, and we really appreciate everyone's cooperation in making that happen, Peter. It makes a big difference when you can have that kind of commerce going on without the impediments that you sometimes run into in other parts of the world.
Just one additional word, and thanks, Peter, to raise that point, because this was one of the driver of the facilities here to manage that trade zone, and we at Thales and at TAS as a French company wanted absolutely to comply with the rules, whatever they are, and I think so far we have properly managed to do that jointly with Orbital.
So I guess we're going to move into this. I really encourage you. There's a lot of innovation out here. There's a lot of people here. And by the way, all these people standing back here are ready to answer questions. We got members of the Thales Alenia team. We got Orbital ATK. I got some of my key managers here too. They're going to be here to point out some really interesting technology things around here. But first than that, we're going to go and see some very important...
So if you'll please just join us at the end of the hallway in front of the INT bay, you'll see the first satellites and have a photo opportunity.
By the way, just one thing, you know, when by the way, my head of the program couldn't be here, he had a family loss, but as he said, there's a lot of technology and technical issues actually acronyms being used, which we'll try not to use. But I did understand one when he called up about a month ago, and he said, the first two satellites are done, done, done. And I've been using that because I know what done, done, done means. These satellites are done, 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 okay? And that's really, really important because we got a bunch more, and I want you to see what they look like and ready to go.
Our program leadership here is Jeremy Novosad, the program manager. His deputy, Mike Pickett, will help show you the satellites. We have Tom Jones, the factory manager here, and the site manager, Rick Kettner, all to help explain the process on the wall and with the satellites. Thank you all very much. Yes. Yeah, no flash, though. No. Okay.
Just a reminder, no flash photography.
Numbered, of course. Our existing satellites go from 1 to 90, if you will. The 66 satellites, these start being designated as 101 up to 181, I guess is what they'll be. That's number 101 and 103. I forget where 102 is. There's going to be different orders. The numbers aren't sequential necessarily. They take on a life when they're born, and they keep that number. We don't move them around a lot because it's important to keep that designation. But these are the first two which will go in those not inexpensive shipping containers. That's not just a box, okay? There's a lot of technology just in the shipping containers and into the truck that will move these on to the Vandenberg Air Force Base.
You could just line up for
Oh, they want us for
thumbs up, smile.
That's great.
Okay.
People around here are glad to answer.
Okay.
You can see they're in storage position right now with the, those are very large. The total size, as you can see, is about, 9 feet by 5 feet by about 4 feet or so is the size. They're, 1,800 kilograms? Is that right? 1,800 pounds. They're about 800 and some kilograms. 890 kilograms. Is that dry or fueled? That's dry, 890. Got a big tank inside the middle of them, which will be filled up. You can see the white part up at the top there. That white unit is the hosted payload. That is the Ariane hosted payload and Harris technology in there. That was built by Harris Corporation. That's the thing that will be tracking aircraft in real time around the world and providing that information to air traffic controllers. And that's a very important, unique application. It's kind of hard to see from here, but the whole top of the satellite is the main mission antenna. That's the one that you said, how many? 72,000 TR modules? 14,000, still a lot. TR modules have been built into that as a very sophisticated antenna. That's what makes connections. By the way, you're seeing the satellites down, if you will. They literally fly the other direction. They fly with that part to the Earth. So if that's the Earth up there, that's the direction they fly. The total size, once they come off of the dispenser, those solar panels start unfolding, and it's about 30 meters, 10 meters. How many feet? How many feet is the oh, it's 10 meters. About 50 feet wingspan. So think of them about the size of a small airplane. But those solar array panels go out there and face the sun, and that's what provides the power. And the whole satellite really flies with that direction towards the Earth. So you're kind of seeing them in the upside. They are connected to the rocket at the bottom. There's a number of attach points. There will be 5 attached on the initial dispenser ring, and then there's a secondary dispenser ring above that. Those are specially designed attach points that gets put on top of the Falcon 9 rockets and ensures at the right time and place that they are pushed out from their launch position out into space, at which point they turn on, become live, start, and of course they start talking to the ground and start cheering in Leesburg, Virginia. The board go, and they go live. Yeah, and obviously one of the most unique things about our network, remember, inter-satellite links. No one has all the satellites that are interconnected in space in like a mesh network. You can see the antennas right here on the sides. Those are fore and aft Ka-band antennas that talk to the satellite in front and back. And then on the side are gimbaled antennas that move as the constant movement of the satellites, and so they can talk to the satellites in planes adjacent to them in each side. That creates this whole connection to space like a big mesh network. No other satellite network does that. That means we operate at the North Pole as well as we operate at the equator, any other place equally. And then there is also a Ka-band antenna that points to the ground, actually several, that makes the connection here as the satellite comes across Arizona. Each satellite, as it comes across Arizona, will be downlinked into that ground gateway that you're going to go see over there. And all the calls and data calls and internet connections from the whole Earth go through that gateway, through that Ka-band antenna, and you'll see how that's operated and how that's controlled. We have a couple gateways around the world. The government has a gateway. We're building a gateway in Russia, which will go operational in November, I think. And we also have a number of other antennas, particularly in the very northern region where satellites all interconnect over in Norway and Canada, in Fairbanks, Alaska, that also are connected into this facility here in Tempe, Arizona. And you can see the thrusters around the sides. People will show that to you. That's how they can move in space. Peter.
that the entire Harris thing has all the hosted?
That's all the hosted payload stuff in there. There's an antenna that you can't. Yeah. Well, no, the dispenser. Do you know what the dispenser weighs? I don't remember what it is. It's made out of graphite. You know, a purpose-built. It's very large. It's 10 feet tall. It has all these attach points around it. It's a lot of mechanical stuff in there. So I don't know how much it weighs. SpaceX. Yeah, that was part of our deal with them, and that they built those and they produced those to our order for that. And again, we could fly with just 5 if we wanted to in the future. You can imagine, the flexibility we get with that. Yes, that is the whole hosted payload space. That space up. It also, the AIS, for example, the antenna for the AIS, which isn't on these first 2, that comes in a couple more vehicles. I forget how many they're going to put that on. I think it's 58. That has this long antenna that comes out that's been specially designed into it. It comes out, I think, this end to make that UHF connection and that sort of thing. So there's some other components to that, but all the antennas, if you will, that surround that, you can see those white, those are making connections to aircraft around the world. 1 metric ton for the dispenser. It has to be very strong, of course, to hold 1,800 pounds times 10, so 18,000 pounds that thing has to hold. So that's like 9 tons. So you got, there's a lot of tons going into space, up to 485 miles. That's our altitude that we fly to. So for those in the U.S. anyway, I forget how many meters that is, but you get the idea.
Okay, this will conclude the live webcast version of the tour today. For those of you actually here in the factory, I just want to direct your attention to the wall behind you for a virtual tour of the work that occurs at each station on the production floor.